think you should pay everybody? Is it the reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
It was for shirts. That's what.
The small village of Dalton, Illinois, has become the epicenter of an extraordinary political drama centered around its embattled mayor, Tiffany Henyard. Once celebrated as a trailblazer for becoming the first female mayor of Dalton, Henyard's historic tenure is now overshadowed by allegations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and abuse of power, plunging her administration into turmoil. Once a symbol of hope and change, Henyard's reputation has been tarnished by claims that she misused public funds for lavish personal expenses and appointed unqualified allies to key positions to consolidate her influence. Critics argue that her leadership has shifted from serving the community to protecting her interests, creating deep divisions and disillusionment among Dalton's residents. As if the allegations were not damaging enough, a stunning new development has added a dramatic twist to Henyard's unraveling political career. Her boyfriend has testified against her in court, a revelation that has sent shockwaves through the community, amplifying the narrative of betrayal and political intrigue. His testimony reportedly strengthens the case against Henyard, adding credibility to the accusations and leaving her supporters scrambling for explanations. Meanwhile, residents have turned to public forums to express their outrage, feeling betrayed not only by their mayor, but by the entire system that allowed her rise to power. Henyard, however, dismisses the allegations as baseless attacks orchestrated by political rivals eager to see her fall. She maintains that the charges are part of a calculated smear campaign to undermine her leadership and silence her vision for Dalton's progress. But as more details of her alleged misconduct emerge, even her most ardent supporters are finding it harder to defend her. The courtroom drama, with her boyfriend's bombshell testimony at its center, has captivated the community, turning the political crisis into a spectacle of personal betrayal and power struggles. Now, Henyard stands at a critical crossroads, her political future hanging by a thread as the scandals pile up. The question on everyone's mind is no longer whether Tiffany Henyard will survive the storm, but whether Dalton can survive her leadership long enough to rebuild the trust that has been so deeply eroded.
I've got some books that super mayor. Inside I have from the United States District Court, Northern District of Illinois.
Imagine being in her shoes, the spotlight shining brightly on you, your name recognized and celebrated, and then, piece by piece, it all begins to fall apart. For Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the downfall has been nothing short of dramatic, riddled with accusations that strike at the very heart of her leadership. These are not minor claims. These are serious allegations involving illegal appointments to key positions within the village of Dalton, positions of power, influence, and decision-making that, according to critics and legal experts, were filled without the proper approvals required by local governance rules. Henyard's controversial actions reportedly began with her attempts to appoint a village attorney, police chief, and village administrator, all critical roles that directly impact how a town is managed. However, instead of following the required legal process and securing approval from the Board of Trustees, a step mandated under the law, Henyard allegedly bypassed the process entirely. It did not take long for these actions to catch up with her. A judge blocked the appointments, citing that they did not meet legal standards. But rather than recalibrating her approach or addressing the underlying concerns, Henyard seemed to double down, positioning herself in open defiance of both judicial orders and established governance norms. Her defiance did not come across as subtle or passive. It carried an air of brazenness, leaving many stunned. By surrounding herself with individuals deemed unqualified or lacking the appropriate authority to occupy these roles, Henyard set the stage for an unprecedented standoff between her administration, the trustees, and the legal system. Critics argue that these appointments were not made with the village's best interests in mind. Instead, they claimed that Henyard's motives were rooted in consolidating power. By installing loyal allies in key positions, she could ensure that important decisions were made without opposition, effectively bypassing the checks and balances designed to prevent abuse of power. This was not merely a legal battle, it became a battle over the very principles of governance. The judge's order blocking these appointments might have been a setback, but instead of slowing Henyard down, she appeared to interpret it as a challenge, as though daring the legal system to catch up with her. For the residents of Dalton, this unfolding drama has been both captivating and alarming. On one hand, they watched their mayor evolve from a history-making leader, Dalton's first female mayor, into a figure whose actions increasingly blurred the line between ambition and recklessness. On the other hand, they witness the very fabric of their town's governance strained under the weight of repeated conflicts, legal battles, and allegations of impropriety. Many locals have expressed disbelief at how far this situation has spiraled. Some are left wondering how one leader could amass such unchecked power and wield it so unilaterally. Henyard, for her part, has consistently maintained that her decisions are rooted in a broader vision for progress. She dismisses critics as politically motivated detractors intent on derailing her agenda. Yet, with every new move she makes, the scrutiny around her only deepens. From headlines detailing her controversial appointments to publicized clashes with the trustees, Henyard's leadership style appears to thrive on confrontation, fueling tensions rather than fostering collaboration. For those who initially supported her historic election, the disappointment is palpable. They now grapple with the growing realization that her leadership may be less about serving the community and more about acting in dominance. What began as a hopeful moment for Dalton has now turned into a political spectacle, one that raises larger questions about leadership, ethics, and governance. Henyard's supporters have found themselves torn, caught between loyalty to the first female mayor and the unsettling truth of her increasingly erratic behavior. Yet Henyard's defiance paints the picture of someone who believes she is above the fray, standing firm against those who question her actions. Her apparent disregard for procedural norms and judicial authority has become a lightning rod for critics, who see it as emblematic of a leader who prioritizes personal control over transparency and accountability. For many in Dalton, this represents a breakdown in the very principles that uphold good governance. The controversy surrounding her appointments raises larger questions about the long-term impact of her tenure. What does it mean for the village of Dalton when its mayor openly defies legal orders? How does a community reconcile its desire for strong leadership with the growing evidence that this leadership may come at the cost of its integrity? These are the questions that now hang in the air as Henyard continues to operate with a defiant edge. The situation serves as both a cautionary tale and a wake-up call for a village that is struggling to balance hope for change with the stark reality of political turmoil. The parable is illuminating too. Whether the legal system catches up with her or she continues to weather the storm, one thing is certain: the ramifications of Henyard's actions are bound to echo through Dalton's history for years to come. For now, residents are left watching the spectacle, caught between disbelief and concern, as their once promising mayor pushes the boundaries of governance to their limits. The village of Dalton now stands at a crossroads, its future uncertain as it grapples with the fallout from one leader's ambition gone awry.
One way that the government always does it is to go and investigate people around her, and that's what they're doing.
In a stunning twist to the ongoing saga surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard, someone unexpectedly stepped into the courtroom and delivered testimony that could potentially unravel her entire career, setting the community of Dalton, Illinois ablaze with scandal. This witness, once thought to be a peripheral figure in the drama, emerged as a critical voice, offering allegations that painted a damning portrait of Henyard's leadership. According to the testimony, Henyard has been misusing municipal funds, taxpayer dollars meant to support the community, for personal indulgences ranging from lavish vacations to extravagant purchases. The implications are staggering, suggesting that Henyard prioritized her luxuries over the welfare of the town she was elected to serve. If the testimony holds any weight, it reveals a disturbing pattern of behavior where Henyard allegedly used her office to fund a lifestyle of privilege and excess, leaving the community to bear the consequences of her financial mismanagement. However, the accusations do not stop at financial misconduct. They dig deeper, touching on allegations of bribery and abuse of power. Word has spread that Henyard has been making secretive, under-the-table deals with local businesses, allegedly accepting payments in exchange for favorable treatment. These accusations paint a picture of a leader willing to trade integrity and fairness for personal profit, using her position to create a system that benefits her while undermining the trust and fairness essential to a functioning community. The testimony outlined specific instances where businesses allegedly paid to bypass regulations, secure permits more swiftly, or gain other preferential treatment, essentially flipping the ideals of public service on their head. If these actions are true, they cast Henyard as a mayor more focused on lining her pockets than governing with transparency, equity, or responsibility. This betrayal of public trust strikes at the core of Dalton's governance, particularly in a community already grappling with financial hardship, where the average household income is far below Henyard's salary. These allegations of misuse have left her constituents wondering just how much of their hard-earned taxes have been spent, not on infrastructure, education, or community programs, but on Henyard's pursuits. The testimony revealed a broader pattern of governance riddled with potential corruption, where personal gain appears to take precedence over the public good. As the accusations unfolded in court, shockwaves rippled far beyond the room. Residents of Dalton, many of whom had pinned their hopes on Henyard's leadership, now face the grim reality that the person they elected to lead them into a brighter future may have been prioritizing her self-interest all along. The notion of a mayor using her authority to play favorites and foster backdoor deals has shattered community morale and raised troubling questions about what else might be lurking beneath the surface. Could these alleged abuses be just the tip of the iceberg? What about Henyard's political and personal connections that might have allowed her actions to go unchecked? Henyard has responded to these allegations by denying them outright, claiming political sabotage and a targeted smear campaign. However, her connections, including those with influential figures and associates, are now under intense scrutiny. Meanwhile, the witness's testimony has only amplified the growing call for accountability. Residents are demanding transparency and justice, with critics questioning how deep these alleged connections run and whether Henyard's influence has compromised other aspects of Dalton's government. The scandal continues to unfold, and with each new revelation, the future of Henyard's leadership looks increasingly uncertain. The community of Dalton is left grappling with the harsh reality that their mayor may have been serving her interests rather than those of the people she was elected to represent.
So that's one of the reasons I vote no when we go through our board packets. It's like, some of this stuff, it's like you don't know exactly what it's for, and then when you ask a question.
You might be wondering how all of this played out in court. Witnesses say it was far from a calm day. Tensions quickly escalated into an explosive situation when Henyard's boyfriend began disclosing personal details. Henyard, clearly taken aback by his testimony, was unable to contain herself, having a full-blown meltdown. She yelled at him, disrupting the proceedings, and her emotional outburst only worsened the situation, giving the impression that she was losing control, not just of her temper, but of the entire situation. The public's reaction was swift and intense. The people of Dalton were already fed up with the chaos surrounding Henyard's administration, and this latest scandal only deepened their outrage. Social media erupted with calls for her resignation, with many accusing her of betraying the community's trust. One commenter did not hold back, stating that Henyard was as corrupt as they come, that her crimes were clear and traceable, and that she should be put in jail. The residents' patience was running thin. They wanted answers from the mayor, who was supposed to be serving the community, not spending their hard-earned money on personal luxuries. At one point, as the meeting became more heated, some attendees tried to take control. One remarked on the lack of transparency in the board's dealings, saying, "We go through our board packets, but you do not know exactly what is going on. When you ask questions, there is no response." However, it did not end there. The drama reached new heights when Henyard, instead of staying silent, showed up late to a village board meeting held at the local park district building, as the village hall could not accommodate the crowd. When she arrived, she attempted to take charge, walking in as if nothing was wrong and trying to make a speech. But the residents were not having it. They booed her, with one resident shouting in protest, "It is not about headlines, it is about making sure the correct thing is done." Henyard, undeterred, left the meeting after receiving invoices. However, those invoices raised further concerns. At the same meeting, allegations of the board violating the state's transparency laws were discussed. Henyard responded by filing a lawsuit against the trustees, claiming they were unlawfully holding meetings and attempting to sabotage her re-election campaign. Throughout this, Henyard continued to push the narrative that all the accusations were politically motivated attacks. She took to Facebook to rally her supporters, posting a cryptic message that read, "I need all my black sheep to stand with me. If God is for us, then who can be against us?" It seemed as though she was trying to unite her remaining allies. However, given the mounting evidence and growing public dissatisfaction, it is unclear how many supporters are still standing by her side. For the past year, federal authorities have been investigating the questionable spending of Tiffany Henyard, a politician from the South suburban area. This investigation has shed light on even more of her alleged misconduct. We only know half of the story so far, but authorities have certainly taken notice. Subpoenas have been served, and rumors are circulating that Henyard's inner circle is starting to crumble under the strain. Some of her closest allies are being drawn into the investigation, with their involvement potentially shedding more light on the full extent of Henyard's actions. The situation in Dalton continues to unravel, and with every new development, the public's trust in Henyard's leadership continues to erode. The courtroom drama, the public protests, and the federal investigation all point to a mayor whose once promising tenure has been overshadowed by allegations of corruption, financial misconduct, and a disregard for the very principles of transparency and accountability that the residents of Dalton deserve.
Invoices, but those invoices lead to more questions, and sometimes we don't get answers to those questions. And so it's not about clickbait, it's about just making sure that.
You may be wondering how all of this played out in court. Witnesses report that it was far from a calm day in the courtroom. Tensions quickly escalated into an explosive situation when Henyard's boyfriend began disclosing personal details. Henyard, clearly taken aback by his testimony, could not control herself and had a full-blown meltdown. She yelled at him, disrupting the proceedings, and her emotional outburst only worsened the situation, giving the impression that she was losing control, not just of her temper, but of the entire scenario. The public was not about to stay silent either. The people of Dalton, already frustrated by the chaos surrounding Henyard's administration, were now more outraged than ever. Social media was flooded with calls for her resignation, with many accusing her of betraying the community's trust. One commenter did not hold back, stating that Henyard was as corrupt as they come, that her crimes were clear and traceable, and that she should be jailed. Residents' patience is running thin. They want answers from a mayor who should be working for them, not using their hard-earned money for personal luxuries. Adding to the drama, Henyard's actions seemed to reflect her disregard for the mounting scrutiny. Rather than staying quiet as many might have expected, she arrived late to a village board meeting held at the local park district building since the village hall could not accommodate the large crowd. When she arrived, she attempted to take charge of the meeting, walking in as though nothing was wrong and trying to make a speech. However, the residents were having none of it. They booed her as she tried to speak. "It is not about headlines, it is about making sure the correct thing is done," one resident shouted in protest. After receiving some invoices at the meeting, Henyard left, but those invoices raised even more concerns. They fueled questions about transparency and accountability within the administration. The controversy did not stop there. Henyard filed a lawsuit accusing the trustees of unlawfully holding meetings and violating the state's transparency laws. In her claim, she argued that the entire situation was an elaborate attempt to undermine her authority and sabotage her re-election campaign. Throughout the unfolding scandal, Henyard has attempted to control the narrative by dismissing the accusations as politically motivated. However, her actions, combined with the growing public unrest, suggest that the pressure is building. As the community continues to demand answers, it seems Henyard's grip on both the truth and the trust of the residents is rapidly slipping away. Amidst the growing scandal, Mayor Tiffany Henyard continues to face a whirlwind of accusations, with her responses adding fuel to the fire. Henyard has publicly dismissed the allegations as politically motivated, even posting a mysterious message on Facebook that read, "I need all my black sheep to stand with me. If God is for us, then who can be against us?" This message appears to be an attempt to rally her supporters, but given the current political climate, it is difficult to gauge how many people still stand by her. For over a year now, federal authorities have been investigating Henyard's questionable spending habits, but so far, the public has only seen half of the story. Federal investigations have intensified, with subpoenas being served and whispers of Henyard's inner circle beginning to crumble under the pressure. Some of her closest allies are reportedly being drawn into the investigation, including her boyfriend, who not only testified against her, but is now rumored to be in detention, disclosing even more information about her alleged corruption. The saga continues to unfold, and each new revelation seems to make the situation worse. One of the most alarming reports, which adds to the growing pile of accusations, addresses financial mismanagement. Despite certain financial constraints in place, Henyard's administration has been accused of reckless spending and a lack of oversight, plunging Dalton's finances into turmoil. According to former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, it is as if the entire local government structure is crumbling under Henyard's leadership. This has left residents and critics alike wondering what will become of Dalton's economic stability. Perhaps the most shocking revelation from the investigation is the temporary restraining order issued last month, preventing Henyard from making key appointments without approval from the Board of Trustees. The village's government has been one of the most vocal critics of Henyard for months, with the trustees accusing her of acting unilaterally and undermining their authority. It was, in fact, the trustees who took Henyard to court in the first place to prevent her controversial appointments, asserting that she lacked the legal authority to make those decisions without their consent. With the situation continuing to spiral out of control, the trustees are growing more vocal in their demands for accountability. One trustee recently stated, "We have had enough of these antics. It is time for true leadership." Despite this mounting pressure, Henyard still has a small but loyal group of supporters who believe she is being unfairly targeted. Some argue that this is part of a larger political plot to remove her from office simply because she has challenged the established status quo. Henyard herself has refused to back down, continuing to fight back at every turn, even as the walls close in around her. She insists that wrong is wrong and that it is time to hold people accountable for their actions. However, public sentiment is rapidly shifting. As the scandal drags on, more residents are beginning to express frustration. One commenter, reflecting the growing sentiment, bluntly asked, "Why has she not run with the money and left everyone behind?" The public's patience is wearing thin, and even Henyard's most devoted supporters are finding it increasingly difficult to defend her actions, especially in the wake of her boyfriend's testimony, which many have called a game-changer. This turn of events has prompted further speculation that the trustees and other local political figures feel threatened by Henyard's leadership style and are doing everything in their power to remove her from office. The question remains, what happens next for Tiffany Henyard? The court case is still in its early stages, and the legal battles are far from over. More testimony is expected in the coming weeks, and rumors suggest that even more damaging evidence could emerge as the investigation deepens. If Henyard is found guilty of corruption, it could spell the end of her political career. But even if she manages to avoid jail time, the damage to her reputation may be too great to overcome. Residents of Dalton are fed up. The trustees are calling for her resignation, and the federal investigation looms large over everything. It is a ticking time bomb, and everyone is waiting to see how it will all play out. Will Tiffany Henyard be able to clear her name, or is this the final chapter in her time as Dalton's mayor? And perhaps more importantly, what does this mean for the future of Dalton itself? The village is already struggling with financial difficulties, and with the leadership in chaos, things could get even worse. The fallout from the scandal is bound to have lasting effects on both Henyard's career and the future of the town she was elected to serve. Whatever happens next, one thing is for certain: this political scandal will not be forgotten anytime soon. The eyes of Dalton and beyond are on Henyard, waiting to see how this saga unfolds. So, what do you think? Should Tiffany Henyard step down, or do you believe there is more to the story? Could this be a case of political rivals trying to bring her down, or is she guilty of the serious accusations being thrown at her? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.